Hey guys, editing Jess here. You know, I have considered multiple times like outsourcing my editing so I could have time to like shoot more videos and do more things. But then how would editing Jess get to pop in on the vlogs occasionally? I have a vlog for you guys to watch today with a lovely morning garden walk, kind of showing some garden progress and asking you guys your opinion on some things. But first I wanted to pop in on the front of this video and explain something that I've gotten a lot of questions about this week. So this week we shared a video with our event that we had for Wilder Still. And then obviously we've shared some really big announcements this week about our upcoming community efforts. So if you haven't watched those, please go back and watch them. It's one of the biggest announcements we've ever made about our brick and mortar store, and I cannot thank you guys enough for your support. I have literally cried crocodile tears reading your comments, just feeling so massively loved by you guys, and thank you for that. But I've also gotten a lot of questions about what is Wilder Still. I'm going to put a couple of links in the show notes of this video from last summer whenever we were making our move from Arkansas to South Carolina, sharing what we were doing with Wilder Still. But we've gained a lot of new people since then. We actually partnered with our friends, the Rhodes, Justin and Rebecca Rhodes, also have a YouTube channel. And Justin launched a streaming service. It's been a little over a year and a half ago, called Abundance Plus. And it has lots of different content on there, different vlogs, interviews, podcasts, classes, as well as a couple of high produced TV shows, one of which is our show, Wilder Still. Now, the idea of Abundance Plus being a streaming service that you can watch on your TV, like if you have like a Roku TV, or you can watch on your phone, is that you get content without ads that's family friendly and educational and uncensored, because often YouTube does get censored in certain areas of homesteading content. Now, I loved the project that he was doing and offering Abundance Plus because as a content creator, I really see the value of having something that is run by real people that you can actually contact, by having an outlet where you can know that everything on it is family friendly. I love YouTube. I'm so thankful for YouTube, but I think it would be unwise for it to be our only option to reach people. Yeah, with doing Wilder Still was that we hired a production company in partnership with Justin to produce this really high level show. And basically it gave me the capacity to tell the story of our move and our dreams and our visions and kind of a backstory of our family, and kind of have this beautifully packaged story that I didn't have to shoot and produce. I feel very limited. Sometimes I love vlogging, but oftentimes I wish I could tell with more depth. I wish that I could show more. That's just beyond the skill level of my ability to produce and edit, as well as my equipment's ability to produce. And I love that Wilder Still has shown these amazing drone shots and just this gorgeous story that it looks like, you know, a professional film crew did it, because they did. Now, that is something that we have paid a lot to make, and that is why it is behind a paywall. I get that question, like, why would you make something that people have to pay for? Well, the streaming service has a ton of value. There are tiers and different levels, but ultimately the reason why that show costs money to watch is because it costs a lot of money to make. And I totally think that it's worth it. So many of you have been extremely supportive and have expressed to us that you love it. We are right now just releasing the 8th episode of our first season of Wilder Still. We have just finished wrapping up the first season. We finished shooting that this last weekend, and we have decided to move forward with continuing to film this story, as well as the unfolding of everything that we're doing. Obviously, through this whole thing, we've continued to vlog because that is really important to us, but we also just wanted to have this show. It's really precious to me. It's a project that I've really been able to pour a lot of passion into. So, what I'm telling you guys today is that we are actually doing a special. We were talking about doing another fall event, but I told Justin, I was like, I want to hold off and just make sure that we can actually do this and that it actually goes well before we do another. Basically, this event last weekend was for the people who bought a lifetime membership to Abundance Plus, which largely helped us push forward with making the show. So we are offering, again, 100 spots for those who purchase lifetime memberships of Abundance Plus to have, obviously, the lifetime membership. But you'll also get 2 tickets to another gathering at our farm, just like the one we just had, which will be this November. It'll include catered lunch, a Q&A, a private tour of the farm, all of that stuff. So the link to that will be down below, as well as the other options for signing up for Abundance Plus, which allows you to watch the show while they're still. All right, that's it for that. Thank you guys so much for listening to that little spiel. Let's watch this vlog. Good morning, you guys. I'm sitting on the front porch enjoying my morning coffee. That's a frog or something. Well, I was enjoying my morning coffee. Oh goodness, sometimes nature just startles me. All right, we're gonna vacate the frog's premises. I just figured I'd take my camera this morning and go on a little walk with you guys around the garden. So this is the tomato plant that my brother and I planted a fish underneath, and it has gotten massive. I haven't pruned it. Now normally I would have, but I kind of have half a mind to let this be my experiment one. I usually let one go and just go wild to show people how tomato plants grow naturally, because it's my opinion that if we are going to try to grow something, we should know how it behaves when humans aren't involved. And tomato plants, though we stake them up and tie them up so that we get more whole fruits and larger fruits, you know, we prune them. I prune them. Not everybody prunes them. That really depends on your climate, whether that's the best. But tomato plants actually grow along the ground, and they send parts up that stand up, but the majority of the plant does not stand up. I may not do that. I may go ahead and just prune that down and stake it up. I don't know. I just need to decide and do something. Here, this bed of dahlias is looking like it's about to be pretty showy. It is a lovely morning. Oh, can you believe how fast these ducks have grown? They've literally like quadrupled in size in the last 2 weeks. So this week all the onions and garlic are coming out. They're all about ready. My onion harvest did not go how I'd hoped this year because we had that late cold snap that sent a lot of these to seed. So I'm going to be harvesting these, and instead of curing them and drying them to put up, I'm going to be chopping them and freezing and dehydrating. It's actually why I didn't harvest them last week, because I just didn't have a full afternoon to spend working on onions. But I think probably we'll just get them all, assess how many we have, and then I may use my roaster oven and just caramelize a whole bunch of them at once, and then break those down into smaller servings and freeze like bags with caramelized onions, because that's a really nice little hack to have those in the freezer, because you can take a frozen bag of caramelized onions and put it in the pan and like basically thaw it, heat it back up, and you cannot taste the difference between freshly caramelized ones and ones that have been frozen. And then they go great into quiches or on steaks, just whatever dish you're cooking. And especially for something like a quiche, that's kind of like my fast dinner hack. Whenever I don't have something thawed or planned, I can throw that together. And normally, if I don't have caramelized onions frozen, they're not in the fast quiche, because it takes like close to an hour to do the onions. I'll probably just put all of those up in some form, maybe keep a couple of dozen out fresh that we can use over the course of the next couple weeks. The thing is that once they send up that center stalk, that kind of penetrates the bulb of the onion, and after they've done that, they don't store as well. I mean, I'll still get a lot of edible food out of it, but it won't be how I normally do it, because normally I would lay them out, let them dry, braid them, hang them up, and they would last for months. But it's okay. I know now that here in South Carolina, I probably need to get those planted, you know, earlier in the winter, because planting them late, they weren't established enough when that freeze came, and they got knocked back. And then now they think they're on their second year because they've been frozen and killed back, and they're coming back, and they just went straight to seed. Another thing on the to-do list is to get all of the plants out of the glass greenhouse. So the greenhouse served its purpose, and we got to start all of our plants from seed, as well as pot up lots of things in here. But it is getting exceedingly hot in the greenhouse, and we do have a shade cloth and we do have fans, but at this point I think we're just going to move all this stuff down to the high tunnels, put the shade cloth on, get the fans all hooked up, and Maya's going to go ahead and start building the shelves in here. I don't really need that done until maybe like August, and I'm hoping that with the shade cloth and the fans in August, I can start some cool weather stuff in here. It may still be too hot. We'll just have to see. But with the shade cloth and the fans, I will likely still come sit out here this summer because it'll be cooler in here than it is outside, which is nice. You know, sometimes I'll turn my camera on and I'll start walking through these spaces and I'll just realize that like we are thoroughly in the gardening season. It feels like I was just walking through here, wondering if we were even going to get this stuff in. And I'm wondering how your gardens are going. How are your garden spaces going? I think at this point, most zones are, at least here in the in North America, most zones are coming into gardening season. Now I know all of you guys down under are going into winter, so don't worry, I'm gonna share and hold you over through the winter, and you get to watch my garden grow, because I know I'm always watching my Aussie friends and, you know, friends in New Zealand and everything. I watch all their garden stuff all throughout the winter. But yeah, I'd love to know how your gardens are going. I hope you're taking photos. Definitely to be taking photos to document. It's a huge, huge tool to have that to look back on whenever you're assessing the garden season. I'm taking a lot of photos, and actually spaces like the cottage garden, they still feel very small, young, like not really taking off yet. But when I look at the photos when it first started just a month ago, it's way more filled out than it was. So we got all of these plants out, so we're going to start kind of building in this way. Once we get the onions out, that's kind of in the foreseeable future. We're going to start developing over there. The weeds are kind of coming back with a vengeance right now, and I've pulled a lot, but it's this Bermuda grass and thistles and all kinds of stuff. So I think we're going to try to mulch this, give it another layer of protection. Obviously it has some mulch on top, but it's more composty, and so I think we're going to put a layer of like wood chips down around everything now that things are a little more established. Oh, don't want to leave that guy there. I've been asked several times why the fountain isn't running. We don't actually have power out here yet, so we got it all set up and tested it with an extension cord, but this is actually not functioning yet. So when you first plant a garden, it really creeps that first little bit. You know, everything's just sprouting and really small. But then one day you look at it and you realize things have grown significantly, like in a really short period of time. And after that, it's just an explosion of growth. And I am reaching that point of explosion, which means it's really time for me to start shooting actual garden tours now that there's actually something to show. Which is funny because I think my first ever garden tour in 2018 was like June 6th or 7th. So it was pretty much this time of year that the garden really started to take off. And that is why I'm encouraging you guys to take photos and videos of your garden, because you'll be amazed if you make Saturday your photo taking day where you go out and you just document everything. Because like these squashes right now are 5 inches tall, but by next Saturday they will have at least doubled in size, and I think that's so fascinating. My little killdeer is hollering at me because I'm near her nest. I can't wait to see these little eggs hatch. I know, Mama. She doesn't even know that like thousands of people are watching her right now. Oh, she's gonna go act like she's hurt, so I'll follow her. I'm more interested in the squash, lady. Speaking of the squash, check this growth out. I have not seen any flowers yet, so we're not super close to having squash, but it'll happen quickly. Yeah, we're definitely nearing garden tour time because I come out there here and I have this urge to be like, oh, look at this, oh, look at that. Guys, have you ever seen this? Check this out. Just bubbles up out of me. It's the garden. That's the effect it has. It is. I just feel so much joy. So these are different perennials and trees that are going to be hanging out here in the high tunnel under the shade cloth, probably until the end of summer. I'm just going to feed these with some sort of like mild, watered down, very diluted fertilizer throughout this summer here in the high tunnel. Keep them under the shade cloth because I feel like now that we've really got into the hot, if I tried to transplant these out to the future orchard area, they would really struggle. I can protect them more. The pots are large enough because they were in really small pots like this. And we potted them up into these like 2 to 3 gallon pots, and that's enough for this summer. And then we'll transplant these out in the fall, which is really the ideal time to plant trees if you live in a hot place like this. This is cool. This is my kumquat tree, which I think I probably need to drive a T-post like into the ground here to support this because this isn't quite enough. But since putting it in the ground, it set lots of flowers and it already had quite a few little fruits on it, like you can see right here. So cool. There are lots and lots of kumquats on this. And I'm going to be fertilizing this pretty regularly. Now for the citrus, I'm using like a citrus specific fertilizer that I found. Citrus are, from what I understand, heavy feeders. And so a lot of my plants I don't like fertilize on schedule. A lot of the things with fresh compost and all that stuff, that's enough. And they grow just fine through the year without having to have a bunch of other stuff. Maybe I'll do some like worm castings or make some sort of tea out of worm castings, or in the past I've gotten rabbit poop that I might top dress, but it's not like really super on schedule unless I see that plants seem to be struggling, but that usually doesn't happen with fresh compost every season. And it may be that these citrus plants don't even really need it. Just since transplanting this stuff, which was about a week or so ago, like I've noticed these banana trees, which I'm calling this all citrus. Obviously bananas are not citrus, but they are tropical-ish. These are already growing. Like I said, fresh flowers on the kumquat. Here I noticed that this little key lime is just getting lots of new leaves, which that's a good sign. If you transplant something, you know, it's pretty common for it to shock, but then when you start seeing new growth, you're like, oh good, it worked. And all down this side, these are actually rhubarb, which this is sort of an experiment. I got a bunch of these rhubarb bare roots and we started them in pots and a lot of them started to go to seed. It's a little warm here for rhubarb, but it can grow. And my hope was that by putting this in the high tunnel, where it can be shaded much of the day, it will do okay through the summer. My only concern is that it might be too warm in here in the winter for it. So we'll just have to see. Figured I can move it if it's not working out well. But some of these look really rough, but some of them have started to kind of pop back and they're looking pretty good. We chose this side of the high tunnel. So this is the eastern side. And it has the other high tunnel next to it. So like when the sun first comes up, this is pretty shaded by that. There's a little brief period right now where the sun's actually shining right through. And then it hits this shade cloth and this stays pretty shaded for the rest of the day. We didn't put it on that side because that's the western side, which it gets the western sun in the evening and afternoon. I don't know. That's a ton of rhubarb. I really hope that it does well. And my plan right now in here for the rest of this space, I would love some input on what you guys think would be best. I've thought about kind of underplanting like this kumquat. There's a lot of space here. And while that tree is going to get pretty good size, I don't want to put any other trees in here. I could still use this space. And I was thinking about doing things like asparagus in here, more perennial type stuff. But I would love to have some input from you about what you think would be great to underplant the citrus trees and banana trees here in the greenhouse. And on this side, it's currently empty. And my thought here is I'm going to put some ginger out here. I've got several bits of ginger that I got at the grocery store sprouting. Probably put that in the ground this week. I'll show you guys. And then also some artichokes, which the artichokes do really well here. they can struggle in the extreme heat. But again, I think that with the shade cloth, I can offset that. So this is where I'm kind of growing some unusual things, you know, not necessarily the run-of-the-mill stuff. And I don't know, but this may be shaping up to be my favorite place aside from the glass greenhouse, because obviously that's a given, but we can't give that kind of advantage to a place in the garden. I accidentally flooded the tar out of this greenhouse last night. I left the hose on, the sprinkler on way too long, so I'm not going to walk through here because the walkways are really soft right now. It was a mistake, but the water seemed to do it all pretty good. I had discussed the leaf curling on a vlog earlier this week, and many of you agreed with me that it looked like some sort of herbicide drift. Some people said that it might be excess nitrogen, and my thought was, well, I'll water it really good and see if I can kind of dilute that, as someone had said, well, maybe it's not doing it outside because it's getting more water. So, well, that might be the case. The thing is with the garden is that a lot of times you don't know 100% what's going on. I don't think it's a virus. I don't think it's a sickness. I still think that it's probably herbicide, but again, I'm willing to water heavily and see if that helps. I think mostly it'll probably grow out of it, and I think it'll still bear fruit. So I'm actually getting ready to go out of town. By the time you guys see this vlog, I will be on my way to Tennessee for the homesteading festival at Roots Refuge Farm. I'm super excited about that. I'm going to be speaking there and hopefully meeting some of you guys. I'm going to do my best to shoot a vlog there. Hopefully that works out. It can be kind of hard at events, but oh, I left my coffee cup. Either way, my brother's actually flying out there to meet me, which is really exciting, to get to spend some more time with him. And it's always a pleasure when I get to meet you guys. Well, thank you guys for joining me on my little garden walk this morning. I bless you guys. Until next time.